What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Lapeef. Let's talk. We got Gino Black,
Yo,
B Nix,
Out here.
and Anton.
What's happening?
Appreciate y'all for joining us. In case you guys, I'm pretty sure everybody is going through a stressful time right now. I think we all are. I just wanted to just kind of get a feel for you guys. Can you tell me how you mentally feeling? In 2 sentences, keep it short. Gino.
and frustrated probably mostly from the looting, but appreciative that we now have the floor, so it's important.
All right. What about you, Nix? How you mentally feeling during this time right now?
Hey, Black excellence, man. For real. Like, hate it or love it. The thing is, Black folks is coming out of Black Lives Matter coming out of everybody's mouth right now. So the thing is, if anything, we got center stage. So it's really about what we do with it. Hey, I know that was more than 2 words, but that's just how I felt.
It's all good. All right, Anton, how you feeling right now mentally? A couple sentences.
Personally, I feel phenomenal. But I'm just slightly bothered at what I'm seeing on social media and online. So that pretty much sums it up.
Okay. Well, me, I'm just feeling a little shock about everything. I still don't think it kind of set in with me, but I'm just kind of shocked just looking at everything, just seeing everything that's going on. I'm looking at the bigger picture, but we're going to dive into it. So I think we can all agree that this ex-cop, thomaslane, he definitely committed a crime. Do we agree?
Oh yeah,
Hell yeah.
Anton, you agree?
Yeah, that's the cop that was kneeling on his neck, right?
Correct.
Yeah, buddy.
I didn't know his name specifically, but yeah, I feel you on that.
Yeah, this ex-cop, thomaslane, and he also just post bail, received information about a couple hours ago, I think he did, which I don't get that, but he shouldn't even have a bail. But that's another story. So we got a lot of protests, a lot of looting going on. Do we agree? Do we agree with that, Gino?
I agree with the protesting, but I mean it's kind of a thing of making noise versus an impact. I think that the protesting makes an impact. You know what I'm saying? Especially when it's nonviolent. But I mean the looting. You know what I'm saying? It's almost like that part of it that comes out of it. I mean, I don't see the good that comes out of it. I mean, it gets attention, but it's just noise. You know what I'm saying? And then you have so many people that come on board, that are just opportunists. You know what I'm saying? And I mean, they're not for the cause. You know what I'm saying? But it's a lot of Black businesses that have been, bothered by it. You know what I mean? And once it gets started, I mean, it's people that actually get hurt. You know what I'm saying? In the process of it. So I think the noise aspect, I think, it's that's the part that's not needed. I like, T.I.'s idea with the blackout coming up on the 7th, you know what I'm saying, where we can make an impact. So I mean, like I say, making noise versus the impact, I think the looting and all of that is not what's up. But if you can have a peaceful protest, that's cool.
How you feel about it, Nix? Do you agree with the protest and the looting?
Hey, man, it's a beautiful struggle, man. The thing is, sometimes you got to destroy to rebuild. My only thing is that I don't condone violence. And I think that's the part where folks took it to another level. There are still cases of people getting robbed and stuff like that. I had one of my homeboys I went to school with and stuff, man. They came to his job, tried to lock him out and stuff at his job, tie him up in order to steal. You know what I'm saying? So the thing is like folks joined in, but they wasn't about the the protest. They were just about the looting.
Right.
That was their whole agenda. So the thing is, we can't read, people's minds and kind of like understand intent. You can't predict intent. But the thing is, like, if you really real about it, then, it's really about the actions. My thing is that, like, I to this day, I still don't know how folks that were looting, how did you pick and choose which stores to loot? It's like, man, what the Family Dollar, Dollar Tree, Dollar General, what did they do to y'all? The thing is like, how y'all pick and choose which places to loot in y'all neighborhood?
Yeah, it's like it didn't matter past that.
Yeah, so the thing is like, I don't understand the logic in destroying your own neighborhood. So the thing is, to me, this takes away from the protesters. I feel like you got three groups of people. You got the protesters, you know, you got the looters, and you got folks just straight up vandalizing. You know, like the people that, you know, it's almost like if you think about, they had said like, you know, they have, you know, based on like the leftist people, you know, the right-wing folks where they felt that they were going to Minnesota, that people that wasn't of Minnesota was going to Minnesota just to loot, just to create this riot. Same thing was happening in the Chi. The fact that we heard about out there in not Rosemont, but you know, out in the suburbs and stuff like that, where folks that wasn't of the suburbs was coming out there. So you telling me like folks got time to drive to another person's neighborhood and tear it down? You know, what's the outcome of that? So that's the part where I feel like, hey, I get the symbolism of, you know, not the protesting, but also like the destruction, but the actual looting and the stealing that then went beyond the downtown area. That's the part I just don't get, like what we was trying to accomplish. But it was one of those things, it's kind of hard to turn that switch off, because somebody say it's okay to do that downtown versus in your neighborhood. Well, technically, to somebody with a different agenda, what difference does it make? So that's the part that, like, at the end of the day, as long as folks do not get distracted about these worldly things that we tend to press about and really focus on the issues about what's next. Because think about it, that was one weekend, right? That was a one wild ass weekend that, you know what? It was about the struggle. It was about Black folks. It was about injustice. But now what? And that's the part where everybody, including myself, it's about holding yourself accountable. It's about self-reflection. What do you do now?
That's a good point, good perspective. Anton, same question. With all the protests and the looting going on, how do you feel about it?
I struggled with it a lot simply because I had to take a step back and almost just completely get off of social media, because it's difficult for me. Of course, one of the things that really bothered me, obviously, is the looting. But you guys already spoke on that. Like, I don't think any of us disagree, except for I don't see the justification in looting. Like, I don't understand how a lot of these protesters and people that supposedly support this movement is saying that, you know, they don't have a problem with the looting. Like, that it's okay because people are outraged, and then that's justification for it. Like, that's one of the things that bothers me, number one. But number two, even as it relates to protesting, I'm not really sure, and I'm open to being corrected, right? I'm not really sure what it is that we're protesting. If we're protesting that this guy, you know, murdered this guy, right? He murdered George Floyd. I have not met one person on any side of the aisle that disagreed and said that that was wrong, or said that that wasn't wrong. Like, every single person, no matter if you're Black, you're white, whatever, no person has disagreed that this dude need to be thrown under the jail, no matter what you feel, whether you left, right, Republican, Democrat, whatever. So the one thing that I don't have as much insight on is, what exactly are we protesting? Nobody has actually educated me on that.
Well, it seems like I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it seems like we're protesting that, you know, police shouldn't be able to just murder us. I think that that's the point that we're trying to get across, you know, to the world, not just, you know, in Minnesota, but, you know, precincts across the world, because this just happened to be publicized. You know, somebody caught it on video, but this is the type of thing that keeps happening in our neighborhoods.
So how do you condemn an entire group of people based off the actions of 1, 2, 3, even if it's 20 people? Because you literally have hundreds of thousands of police officers across the nation, right? How do you condemn an entire group of people? Now, keep in mind, a lot of these people are our fathers, they're our brothers, they're our sisters. These are some of the people that's on the force. Like, I know some really great people that's really involved in a community, and we completely overshadow every single thing that they do or all of the progress. Me personally, I've seen 20 years of the work that I've done in all of these different communities just go up in flames and go up in smoke, of me working with all of these different kids and building and actually donating literally thousands of dollars of my own money to these different communities. And it's just justified because nobody can answer and say, okay, do we throw the baby out with the bathwater? Right? Do we completely condemn every single police officer because this guy, or do we automatically associate racism with the bad actions of this one guy? One thing that people is not even asking, because nobody is really seeking an understanding, nobody even want to hear this guy talk. We don't want to hear what he was thinking. We're not trying to understand exactly what happened. And so I guess my point that I'm making is that it's almost like a mob mentality. And it's really, I think the worst thing to be in America right now is, as it relates to other Black people, even far worse than a white person that disagrees with the movement or don't understand the movement or questions it, is a Black person. Because the first thing that you're gonna get called is a coon. You're gonna get called, all of these derogatory terms that's related to people that don't see things the same way that you see it. And rather than having a conversation, it's a mob mentality, it's a cancel mentality, and it's a mentality that I don't agree with, that doesn't associate with people that's looking to have a conversation versus people that's looking to actually be militant.
Well, my thing is, because this actually came up, Anton, one of my coworkers and stuff, man, he actually got a family that live in Minnesota. So he had, drove back to Minnesota or whatever. And he mentioned the same thing you were saying about, like, hey, I just don't understand, like, why would they loot, and tear up the neighborhood? Why would they do that? But the thing is, it's big. It's bigger than the action. I know you know that as well, but I look at it from the lens that it's about the issue in Minnesota, but it was also about the issue like that we just saw with Buddy that was down in Georgia, that was jogging, that was chased down. This is a culminating event. This goes back to not just that particular moment. So that's the thing. I think that some people are still looking at it from this frame of this one particular incident, like it's an isolated event. It's bigger than that. It's really a culminating event over the course of time, and really not even over the course of recent memory, but was recorded. Think about how many matters like this that has taken place that has not been recorded. And that's the part where it's creating this civil unrest, because of the fact is that this is something that you would think that law enforcement coordinate this across the US, because we've seen this play out in so many different rural areas. We could go back to Ferguson just a few years ago. They just got a Black mayor, but the fact that they just have a Black mayor as being the first Black woman as the mayor, it shows that we still have work to do, because we talk about equity beyond equality, but truly equity, but being equitable on how we look at things. But right now, it's the fact that folks have been peaceful. Folks have brought this attention. Folks have done documentaries, autobiographies. Folks have, had, fireside chats, open discussions, wrote texts about it, all type of things. And then we see the same continuous behavior. We're all
so now we justify violence as a result.
Well, no.
So now
I think it's not. So this is the thing. Like protesting, I don't associate with the violence. I want to separate the two. The protesting is to bring awareness to it.
The first thing you said, though, B-Nix, was, you got to tear down and rebuild. That's the very first thing.
This is part of it. That means both physical and philosophical. It's a mindset. So I'm not just, when I said that statement, I wasn't just talking about tearing down the building. It's really about breaking down folks' mindset, with us being able to now uncondition ourselves on how Black folks are viewed. Because let's be honest, hey, we talk about profiling. The conversation right now, we're just talking about law enforcement. We know good and damn well that we are being profiled by people without a badge. And I'm talking about just regular folks that don't work in law enforcement.
On
and
the job,
we're profile all the time. We're profiled at our jobs. We're profiled at the grocery store.
Right now. We're being unrealistic.
No, I think it's very realistic. That's facts, bro.
It's not realistic.
But just to
I disagree.
Just to speak to what you said, Anton, and I understand where you're coming from, because like I said, I don't agree with the looting or whatever. It doesn't make any sense. But in terms of, protesting, the protesting does not take away from the good officers. The protesting, like I have buddies as officers that actually do good in the hood. It doesn't dismiss all of the good deeds, However, it does speak to the
it absolutely dismisses the good deeds. 100%. Think about
it.
I'm saying protesting is
because what part are you saying?
Okay, so
what aspect? The looting? I told you from the jump, like the looting, I'm not in favor of the looting.
Several examples.
But I'm saying peaceful protesting. I'm saying it's like
I'm okay with peaceful protesting.
That's what I'm talking about. I'm saying It can start with the peaceful protesting. I'm saying
with that.
I'm saying with the peaceful protesting, I'm saying that's, and like I say, that's how it may start. Like I say, I mean, you have to keep in mind, like once we have everyone's attention, then what? I'm all with you, you know what I mean? But like I say, it doesn't dismiss anything. What it does is put a magnifying glass on the things that are not right, the things that officers keep getting away with. You know what I'm saying? When you have case after case going back to years and years since we've had smartphones and we can record different things, you know, it's like, man, nothing really happens to these guys.
So
now, me
what
personally,
specifically is the request? When we protest or when there's a protest, there's supposed to be specific requests as it relates to what it is that you're asking for that needs to be done differently. And I'm not talking about a broad spectrum. I'm not talking about generalization. What specifically is being asked for? Because there's a lot of people, and you know I'm in the streets, bro. Like, I actually got the footage. I'm really out there having the conversations with people. I spent the last 20 years of my life building up certain communities. I went back and I'm actually purchasing all of the houses and all of the land and the places that I grew, and the place that I grew up. Like, I'm really out here having these conversations. Nobody is able to actually give me some insight into exactly what's being requested and how that would long-term benefit whomever is protesting.
I understand what you're saying, but you have to keep in mind, everybody's not going to have the same systematic approach. However, what the protesting has done thus far, it has really gotten the conversation going, not just by the people that, you know, are protesting, but you have a lot of radio personalities, you have a lot of TV personalities that have really drawn and put and shined a light on this issue, you know, that we're having. It's like,
come on, man. Every last one of them people is just trying not to lose their job. They try not to say the wrong thing.
I don't look at it like that.
Man.
And the thing
That's
is,
silly.
I look at it from the aspect, it's not just the aspect of awareness, but the fact just fair treatment. One thing we could say, not just with the Minnesota issue,
With who?
but with law enforcement and black folks.
All right, so
That's
you're
one
saying
thing that's
that what
very
they're
clear.
protesting for and they're asking for specifically is fair treatment.
For one, we're still profiled. So
No,
again, we
I'm
still don't
asking
know
general
what George
question.
Floyd actually got arrested for. That's the thing. We
I
still have
agree,
not gotten
but
clear
here's the
definition
problem
of
with that, though.
of the arrest.
Here's the
But
problem
that goes
with
back
that,
to the
though.
level
Hold on,
of
Nex.
bias.
Hold on,
we see.
Nex. Hold on, Nex. Lay down, Tonto. Go ahead.
But here's the problem with that, though. When you have a mob mentality, you can't even have the conversation to find out what he got arrested for. Nobody has ever heard anything, like I said in the very beginning of this conversation. Nobody has ever asked to actually find out what this guy actually, you know, what his mindset was, why he did it, what was the profiling, if it was profiling, if it was like, nobody is actually having a conversation to be able to come to that conclusion because nobody is actually trying to get understanding. We're only saying, listen to me, this is what I want, this is what my perspective is, and that's fine. Like, I'm all for if people want to peacefully protest and everything like that. But in everything you do, and maybe this just comes back to my, you know, Christianity or everything being rooted biblically, and everything you do, you have to get understanding, because if you're doing something just because somebody else is doing it, then you're not doing it for the right reasons. Even if they're doing it for the right reasons, you don't have any insight into what it is that you're doing. And nobody, even on this particular call, on this particular Zoom call, has been able to even give me insight on exactly what's being requested.
For one,
Right,
I just
okay.
told you it's about the level. I mean, I get the Christianity, but I think that this is separate from that. This doesn't
It's not.
relate to
I'm
about
saying-
how you're grounded. The thing is, we're still talking about awareness of how black folks are profiled by law enforcement, and not just in Minnesota, any aspect of the world you go to, whether it may
So
be
what's the
an aspect
request?
of a rural area, metropolitan area, urban area. I don't care where you go. The fact that if you black and specifically a man, you're getting profiled, most likely arrested. So when we bring
That's not true.
awareness,
It's not true.
I disagree.
That's
There's been
rhetoric.
many
That's
times.
rhetoric. That's not true.
It's
No,
not.
it's fact.
It's
It's
not.
fact because
theory.
these are
It's
lived
not.
experiences.
It's not true.
Let me
And
show
I'm
you
sure
something,
not just
Anton.
me, but it's
That's not
people
true,
that's
bro.
even listening to this
Anton,
call.
let me
The
show you
fact that
something. Look at this. If you can see it. These cops, I put this video
I
up.
can't
These
see it,
cops
bro.
yeah, I
show.
saw that. I saw
Yeah,
that.
you
It's
see what I'm saying? It's like
black
it's
and
like
brown
cops.
cops talking about like how they have been witness to their colleagues of law enforcement being able to arrest someone based on a quota, based on unfair treatment, based on not having cause of why they've been arrested.
The
But
point
thing
is, it
it's-
happened.
It's a mob. You're talking about a mob. The fact that this is
I'm not disagreeing that
you mentioned
they're
about
bad
the mob
cops.
action. The cops are a mob, and we know that
They're
for a
not,
fact.
man. Okay, so
Well, like,
wait.
I think Anton was
You
saying
can use
that all
you can
cops
use
are
that.
not bad.
You
All
can use
cops
that same rhetoric, right? You can use that same concept and say, well, because I seen this guy over here carjacking, and he of the same his skin is the same color as mine. Should I automatically be classified in that same? We're doing that very thing to these group of people. We saying let's throw the baby out with the bathwater because still nobody's answered the question of exactly what it is that we asking for, right? You can use that same logic to any single thing, and
We're not
it's still
saying
be
all cops,
classified as wrong.
Anton. We're
And
not
the thing
saying
is-
all cops.
But that
You're
no,
speaking
but
to the
you're
bad.
not. But the overwhelming majority of the people are saying defund the police. You know what happens when you
Well,
defund
that's
the police?
not what we're saying. That's I'm saying.
But you know what? You goddamn right. We asking about defunding the police, man.
And you know what happened?
No,
Because it's
I'm
examples
gonna
of
say
that really
specifically. I say
Go ahead.
specifically for Chicago. We know for a fact that, as far as industry, cops are always getting hired, getting jobs, getting overtime, without any type of oversight, without any type of checks and balances. You got lack of education, you got poverty, you got food desert, and the fact that CPD does not have to adhere to the same
You're telling
rules
me,
and regulations
and
of
you're
any other
telling me
industry.
that all those things that you named, there's no level of personal responsibility and accountability from us. No blame goes on us. All of it is them, right? Everybody else. Nobody looks at here. Everybody looking out the window. Nobody looking in the mirror. You telling me that all of that is on them? I can't even believe this is coming out of your mouth, bro.
You goddamn right it is. Because the thing is,
That's
is
silly,
like,
bro.
oh,
This
you know
is
what?
pandering.
No, because you
This is
don't
all
get it. You
pandering,
don't get
bro.
it. The fact that like you're
I
basically
get it.
supporting.
I'm really out here.
No, you're supporting. Hey, you know what? I get you may be really out here, but nigga, I really live here. The thing is, like, hey, where I stay at, no, for real. Because the thing is, I ain't saying I ain't in the streets, but the thing is, you don't understand how it is growing up as a black individual, always looking over your shoulder.
I grew up in poverty.
So
what you
the
talking
thing is,
about?
you act like you don't know
right
what
on
I'm talking about.
Illinois.
And the thing is, the fact is,
Never made no excuses. I refuse.
No, hey,
I'm
no,
not
no.
gonna keep
Anton had the time
I'm
to
not
talk,
gonna
man.
keep playing the victim, bro. I'm not gonna keep
This ain't
playing
about
the
being
victim.
no victim.
It is. Everything you saying is about being a victim. You muted, bro. You muted. We can't even hear you.
It was me. Hold on 1 second. Next, you still there?
I think he's still muted.
Hold on 1 second.
You wrote you muted me.
You muted me. You muted me, man.
Hey, all right, go ahead next time. Go ahead, finish what you were saying.
Bro, part of this is about just awareness. I mentioned this early. The fact is that, hey, I'm against like folks being violent during this entire protest. But the thing is, part of any protest is bringing awareness to the issue. The thing is, folks have been peaceful about certain protests. But the thing is, guess what? We got the attention of the entire globe right now. You got people outside of the US being able to talk about not just the fact that Black Lives Matter, but the fact is the root of it, the fact of how we're marginalized based on not just by law enforcement, but based on jobs, unfair treatment, the fact that we are treated with any type of implicit bias, whether people own up to it or not. Black folks are treated with different biases that other people don't have to deal with. There's a level of privilege that's also part of this that no one would not accept. Now, I'm not the one that's at the front and center saying these are my list of demands, but the thing is, everybody on this call lives it. We all have dealt with some type of form of unjust treatment, whether it's through law enforcement or whether it's through any other person that lives in this entire world. The thing is, we're bringing awareness to it. And the fact is, the destroy and rebuild, a lot of times in order for any movement to take place, there are always going to be sacrifices. The thing is, we all didn't live during the civil rights movement, but the thing is, best believe, I'm sure there was a lot of split conversations about how people felt about let me play it safe, or the fact is that this is something that's unfair. The thing is, we're giving voices, not just us, but the fact that people that are, like you said, that's in the streets, that's living this, that's out having these conversations, bringing awareness to it. Because even if you black, brown, red, green, whatever color, the thing is, you can now admit And this is the first time we could say, whether it's through media, social media, traditional media, that folks are being open about the mistreatment of African Americans in this country that has been going on for many years. So I get it. The thing is, you may feel this unclear about folks are just using this mob mentality. But the thing is, earlier I mentioned, it's about what do we do now in this moment? We have everyone's attention right now. And the thing is, the struggle is not just about Black folks. You have other people that also see this level of injustice. Right. What do we do about it? You mentioned about rebuilding your communities. Cool. Continue to do that. And the thing is, Anton, you've been doing that before we even had this social unrest. But the thing is, it's really about what do we do now that we have the attention? How do we build up our neighborhoods? How do we now look at law enforcement? The thing is, law enforcement is a mob. I got friends that I'm very close to that are cops. Imagine how conflicted a Black cop feels right now, that you got to choose between your culture versus your employer. The thing is, these tactics in certain neighborhoods that was protected. One thing I would give an example to that may take this kind of sidebar. So 106 and Ewing, right? So this southeast side of Chicago. So this right before you get to Indiana. One thing I would say about neighborhoods and about us taking ownership as Black folks about ensuring that we protect our neighborhoods. You got Latin Kings, you got CPD, and you got community organizers that made sure that their community was not touched, right? The thing is, they still respected and protested, and they didn't destroy the neighborhood. The thing is, that's something that we also need to hold accountable. The fact that we mentioned this early, we started the call. Why did we destroy our neighborhoods? I'm not in favor of that, but I am definitely in support of the level of awareness and the protesting. And you know what? This is a beautiful struggle. It's going to get ugly. But a lot of times we've seen that being peaceful about this has not gotten us anywhere. Right. It's bigger than just the issue in Minnesota. It's about everything that we've seen that has been recorded over just the past few years. Honestly, let's just start the tape from Zimmerman, right? So if you take it back to Zimmerman and the amount of events
Zimmerman
that
is
have
not,
been
he was
recorded.
not a cop, and he's not white either. But go ahead.
And I said earlier, we are being profiled by people that do not have a badge. This is bigger than just law enforcement. So that's, again, we need to be able to really contextualize what's going on, but then leverage our power, whether it's through politics, voting, aldermen, giving back to the community, nonprofits. So the thing is, we can't just talk it is about living it. Hey, bruh, it may not be what you want to hear, but it's just my perspective, man.
I respect, I already know. I told you the last time when we had a conversation that I respect your perspective. And I have I'm completely open to learning something that I may not have known, or you giving me insight that I may not have had, right? But I still disagree with the overall premise behind everything that you're saying in a general sense. I don't even know where to start. I guess the thing about it for me is really passionate because Detroit never recovered from the '67 riots. We destroyed our own communities. We literally placed ourselves in poverty, because it seems like the narrative always is, how come you're not giving me more, right? When I go into these schools and I speak, you know who I see tearing them up? I don't see nobody coming in there tearing up our schools for us. I don't see anybody destroying our stuff. Ain't nobody from a different race coming in and destroying our own neighborhoods. It's almost like, we almost want to put everything as it relates to self-accountability and responsibility on the back burner so that we can lean on this crutch over here and say, but institutional racism still exists. That's not the thing that directly impacts me on a daily basis, and the people that look like me. That's not the thing that's hurting me and making sure that my people, right, people that look like me, are empowered to be more successful and have the opportunity to bring themselves and their families out of poverty. So it's almost like you got to clean up. I'm not saying that racism don't exist. Nobody here is saying that. But all I'm saying is, are we asking the right questions? Are we getting the full understanding? Are we really participating in a conversation? Or the mob mentality that I'm mentioning, it is, if you don't see things the way that I see it, then you cancel, or you're not Black enough, or you're not with the movement. How come you ain't with the movement? I can't kick it or have a conversation with anybody that ain't with the movement. I can't be friends with anybody that don't see things exactly, or they're not Black enough. I think that that's silly. It's absolutely silly, and it's an ignorant perspective and a narrative to take. You can be a protester, you can have a perspective, you and I can differ, and I can respect you and I can learn from you because we are willing to have a conversation. But it's a lot of people that's unwilling to have a conversation. They're unwilling to get additional insight that may not, come from somebody that see things exactly how they see it. And they don't participate. And that's not progressive. That's not growth. And that's not going to benefit us long term because we already tried this. We played this card that we're playing right now. And it didn't get us anywhere. You know what it got us? More tore up neighborhoods. All this looting and rioting, it took us 50 years to recover, and Detroit still ain't where it's supposed to be today. That's not the solution. Nobody still is asking the question of exactly what it is that we're asking for, because I'm not saying that what we're asking for is not the right thing, but I don't even know because nobody is giving me that answer. What exactly, specifically, not overall, not in a general sense, are we asking for from these people, they that we're protesting against?
All right, let me just say this. I understand exactly what you're saying. I definitely feel you, because I can identify with some of the things that you're saying. But you would have to ask someone that is a protester that question. Like us, I don't think anyone that's on this chat, this Zoom right now, was out protesting. I don't think we initiated it. We feel how we feel.
No, I was out there with them.
Okay, so you said you were out there with them? You said you were out there with them?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So why were you out there with them if you didn't have a clear understanding?
Well, that's why I was out there. I was asking a question from people, trying to get the insight and the understanding to be able to be, better understand exactly what it is that we're trying to accomplish.
Yeah, you were still protesting.
No, I wasn't protesting. I was out there with them, trying to get the insight so that I can better understand exactly what it is that we're trying to accomplish.
All right. So yeah, like I say, again, we could go back and forth, but the thing is, we're not diehard protesters. We've observed the whole situation. Myself, I'm out all the time. I'm all over the city. Like I said, I was disgusted with what I saw. Me personally, I feel like the cop or different cops that do these or do these heinous things, they should be the ones that are in fear to start their car. They should be in fear to leave the house. I don't think the businesses, especially Black businesses or, any kind of entrepreneur that really gets up and going, shouldn't necessarily be in fear of what they've started be torn down. You know what I'm saying? I definitely don't think that we should be doing it in our area. However, it's a double-edged sword. If everything hadn't have happened the way that it did, I don't think that we would have the attention towards this problem. I'll say that. Now, since that problem, since we have everyone's attention, there have been different people that have come up with solutions of what we could do now. There are videos. It's actually a video I've been trying to figure out how I can put actually on the group because it's in Messenger or whatever. But, without any of this, and that's the problem. That's the part that's kind of challenging for me, because it's like, damn, does it take all of this, for the point to be made? You know what I mean? And I don't really know. I don't really have that answer. You know what I'm saying? Because like I say, I've observed. I didn't really even know that things had gotten so bad before I was getting ready to leave the house. And everybody's like, man, yeah, the traffic is bad. So, I understand what you're saying, but at the same time, I mean, it's not to diminish, anybody that's doing anything good, but it's like we get swept under the rug. And the thing is, if it were 4 Black cops and it was a white guy that same thing happened to, yeah, the same thing would pretty much be happening. You know what I mean?
More white people get killed by cops every year disproportionately than Black people. More Black people get killed by Black people.
I'm saying, look at the numbers though.
Cops.
I'm saying with respect to the numbers.
Facts.
No. Hear me out though. I'm saying with respect to the numbers of us and them. Of course, it'll be more, but it's still more of us that are being killed. It's always going to be disproportionate because they are the majority. You understand?
What do you mean? Black people commit overwhelming majority of the crimes despite being the minority of the population. That's a fact. I'm not preaching against Black people, bro. I do more. I literally give more of my time and money than I ever have in my entire life, bro. But I'm telling you, in order to fix the problem, first we have to clean up our own. How can you empower people and you don't have any power?
Oh man, hey, what you gonna mute me?
No. But I'm just saying, I'm looking at these comments, right? In general, I'm looking at these comments on Facebook, and people aren't even tolerant of me. If I ask a question and say, Okay, I'm looking to get more insight and understanding. I respect you, B-Nix. I respect your perception and your position on this specific issue. Can you give me some additional insight? People like, I'm not with him. I'm not messing with him. Instead of trying to educate me, instead of trying to give me more insight, instead of having a conversation, they not with it. And you know why? Because it's a mob mentality. It's intolerance. It's an inability to be able to communicate.
Who's the mob?
What you
Us or the
mean?
cops?
No, I'm not talking about the cops. I'm talking about I can't even have a conversation with my own people to get understanding. If it is the movement that I'm trying to get behind, I can't even get behind it because nobody want to explain nothing. Nobody want to give me no insight. They just want to cancel me. That's just the truth,
you
bro.
mentioned this earlier about this mob thing. This has been a thing.
It is, bro.
Who
it is, bro.
The mob to? Are you saying black folks are the mob?
No, social media is the mob.
I'm saying I feel like you're being defensive about the people that have maybe attacked you or whatever. I mean,
I'm cool with it. I got a channel. I'm used to the hate.
Yeah, but it's bigger than that, bro.
It's like if you need clarity, man, I mean, you could talk to somebody that's not so much in their feelings about the whole thing. You know what I mean? But it's like if you feel some way or another, I mean, then that's gonna kind of play out in what you're saying right now. You know what I mean? Because I don't feel like I've listened to you. You've made your points. And like I say, I can identify with different things that you're saying. I like I say, just what I see a heavy police presence when I'm driving down Western and Beverly. You see like 5-6 officers every 2 blocks. You know what I mean? But when I drove from the west side down Madison, I don't see any police officers. I see everything boarded up. So I mean, like I say, I have a problem with that, but it doesn't, like I say, it's like, if it's clarity that you need, or if it's clarity that you want to know about a particular thing, I mean, then search. Those who search will find an answer.
No, I do search.
What is there?
That's why I was out there.
What is there to search? The thing
it's so funny. You still haven't answered the question that I asked.
Well, like I said, we're not the advocate.
You know what? I'm lost, bro, because I don't know what else you need to know. The thing is, it's like,
Anton, what was the question, Anton?
I asked a specific question about 5 times. I said, what exactly, not in a general sense, but specifically, are we asking for as it relates to this protest? Because one of the things that you said, B-Nix, was, what are we going to do afterwards? What's the next move? Because now we have a platform. Now we have a stage. Okay, so what exactly is being asked for? Because if we asking for this cop to be convicted or arrested or charged, nobody disagreed with the fact that the dude was wrong and he should have never done that. He should be put under the jail. So what exactly is being asked?
But this is the thing also with that. For one, we're asking, again, fair treatment. Just getting arrested don't mean you got to die. And the thing is, this is not an isolated event. There's been many cases where folks have been arrested and have not came back home to their families. So the thing is, you could say the whole thing about with the stats, like white folks get arrested more times than not, but white folks still get to go back home to their families, including arresting officers. This dude you just mentioned at the beginning of the podcast is out on bail. So the thing is, it still shows that, you know what? Hey, he did the crime, but yet he still get to come home to his family. We got black folks that are out here dying, both men and women. And the thing is, that's the part that's unfair. It's not even about the arrest, but the fact that it should be a level of just civility that we as a people, as human beings, should be upset that folks are getting killed off of arrest.
I am upset about it.
Time and time again. So the thing
I'm
is,
100% upset about that.
But that's evident. That's evident because the thing is, the Minnesota issue, this is not the first time we've seen this play out. We've seen many of our black brothers and sisters killed based on like
anybody that's doing anything that actually harms and takes another black person's life, especially if you're a police officer that's sworn to serve and protect, it's wrong. We not disagreeing at all.
But if it's wrong, then why does it continue to happen? So the thing is, the protest is
because
just
we're
rage.
People. There's 7 billion people on this earth, 360 million people in the United States. If you can find one person that's not doing something wrong in every group, no matter how you classify them. But you're saying they should die though. So the thing is, I get crimes happen. I didn't say that they should die. I said it was wrong.
That's part of the protest. Because the fact is, it's not just the fact of being arrested, we're being profiled and killed off.
But you will never solve unless you're being policed by robots that you can program yourself. You will never solve human behavior.
Well, that's a problem. That's part of this. Because the thing is, there's a certain responsibility.
The thing that we should be looking to solve. That's what I'm saying.
If there's a certain responsibility that people in certain industries have to adhere to, The thing is, I'm not saying we're human beings. Everybody's not perfect. But if you a cop, you should know how to enforce the law without killing someone by accident. And the thing is,
I agree.
How can we have trust in not just law enforcement, but in the people that's supposed to serve us, as far as our government, our aldermen, the people that we vote into office, and they allow to just this to play out time and time again. So the thing is, that creates this level of fear. And the part that nobody's talking about, there's a mental health aspect to this too, where the fact that if you continuously see people gunned down, people that look just like you, it creates this fear, this mindset, this classic conditioning.
The thing that I see people getting gunned down with, and I'm talking about the person that carjacked me and tried to kill me and was shooting at me, look like me. The people that I see dying every day when I'm in these neighborhoods on a daily basis, participating, trying to make sure that people change their lives and giving money and resources and working with people and speaking at these schools and trying to intercept people that's on the wrong path when they're youth, when they're 10, 11, 12 years old, when my buddies that's working in specific underserved areas is asking me to come in and work with these people and show them what success look like. And then I take these people into my home. Literally, I've had people sleeping on my couch. You know where all the violence that I see? The overwhelming majority of it, 99% of it, look like me. Nobody is outraged at that.
That's the
Nobody
thing.
is having that conversation.
This particular protest, this ain't that. Because I know what you're doing. I know what you're trying to do. You're trying to create this black on black narrative.
No,
but this is not that.
I'm not.
That's the example you gave.
Beginning that I agreed with you that it was wrong. It's wrong for any police officer that's sworn to serve and protect to do anything that misplaces the trust from the people that they pledge to serve and protect. Nobody is disagreeing with that, but nobody is telling me exactly what it is that we accomplishing by asking for a specific thing. Again, you still skirting that. You like a politician. You do really good with skirting that question.
Who, me?
You never answered it. Yeah, you.
Oh man, no, I already told you. We just trying to ask for fair treatment. The fact is, bringing awareness to the fact that our black folks are getting gunned down and killed off simple
routine stops.
Yeah, because the thing is, and this show's really going back to how we're all conditioned, including both you, I, all us. The fact is that we become so conditioned that this is acceptable behavior. That's the part that folks are mad about. The fact that this should not be, oh, it just kind of happened. You know what? As a cop, there's a certain responsibility that, you know what, you should be able to do your job without killing somebody. But the thing is, because this happens so often as a society, we became normed by this behavior. We think that it's normal, like, oh yeah, such and such got shot by a cop. That is not acceptable behavior. So the thing is, you goddamn right, I'm upset. And everybody else is, because not just because of Minnesota, but because this continues to happen. And we've been bystanders to this. We've done peaceful protests. We done signed petitions. We done talked to our aldermen. We done talked to government. And the thing is, guess what? They have a blind eye to it. Because honestly, if you look at it, government supports this because government don't represent us. If you look at most of the people, I won't say locally, but even on a global level, they don't look like us.
The overwhelming majority of the people in your community vote in the people that represent you from a government perspective. I don't even, and you know what's so funny? I'm glad you brought that up, because the voter turnout rate in urban communities, most of the time is under 10%. When you have an opportunity to make a change, when you have an opportunity to pick your people, when you have an opportunity to have a conversation with these people that's in office, that's making decisions on your behalf, the overwhelming majority of our people don't utilize that platform.
This is part of that change, brother.
Hold on, wait. Because protesting don't have nothing to do with making sure you vote. Let's be clear. Protesting has nothing, and that's what I'm saying is that along with the protest, because I'm not against it. I'm not against the protest. Along with that, you also have to take a long look in the mirror and take some personal responsibility as a group and say, we don't vote. We don't have these conversations with people that's making decisions and making policy decisions. I ain't even talking about on a federal level. I'm talking on a local level. All these cities, Detroit, Chicago, Baltimore, Pittsburgh, all of these different cities that we are overwhelmingly Democrat in and being policed and voting these people in, most of these people don't even know who their city council members are.
I get that.
That's what I'm saying, is that it has to be a multi-level approach.
I agree.
In addition to the protest. That's all I'm saying.
I agree. And the thing is, my first intro when I mentioned this about what do we do from here? Because the thing is, hey, I get the looting, all that. We're past that. Not past it, but it happened. It was last week. So now, from this moment on, about the marches, about the community rallies, about the voting that you just mentioned, Hell, about the census. Everything that's going on right now is really about how do we now, like you using your terminology, you said educate me. It's about how do we educate others to say, like, you know what? How do we empower people in order to inform change from a formal aspect? But the thing is, we have folks' attention on a global level. Because the thing is, sometimes you
But
do
we
need
don't
to destroy
need
and
global
rebuild.
representation to affect our local communities and have people participate in who it is that they're electing as a representative for them.
I get that, but see,
You see what I'm saying?
that conversation right there is still part of the what's
Apples and
next. Right
oranges.
now, we're still in the thick of this. That's part
In
of
the
the
thick
what's
of
next
what?
conversation, next steps. Right now,
The most
you're talking
effective
about we're
thing
still
that people can
processing
do.
why this happened, because that's the part that's still part of this discussion
Fair
of why
enough.
all this happened.
That's fair enough. I can respect
So-
that.
I guess the next question is, what do we do now? Hey, Gino, what do we do now?
No, ask Anton, man.
I'm gonna get to
No,
Anton.
hey,
I'm gonna get
no,
to
this
Anton.
fall back.
I'm just trying to give you.
I-
I'm just trying to give you
gotta
guys a
answer.
break a little bit. I'm just trying to give you guys.
Right.
a
No,
break a
ain't no
little bit.
break. Ain't no breaks.
Yeah,
Like,
listen.
hey, Anton, go ahead. Hey,
Be
you know
Knicks.
what? I'm asking you.
Be Knicks.
What
I
up?
was asked. Relax. I was asked.
Ain't no
Relax.
Hey, I get that.
Relax.
I know.
All right, Gino, go ahead.
Damn.
Hey,
Gino, go
I know,
Hold
JR,
on,
you
Nick,
trying to
hold
keep the order. No,
I
I want to
think-
hear Anton, man.
I
You
think
You
gonna
take
hear
my
him.
spot, Gino.
You gonna hear him. You gonna hear him. Gino, go ahead.
No, hey, you can speak now,
Knicks.
bro.
Knicks. Relax, man. No, relax. It's all good. I got you. I got you.
Hey, I just want to hear. No, the brother been asking us questions about he's been unclear about the shit. We've been on here for almost a
Hey.
fucking hour and shit.
Hey, like the only thing that I ask is just make sure we just hear everybody out. All right, go ahead, Gino.
Ah, man,
Yeah,
go ahead,
I
Gino.
think,
God
like
damn.
I said, in the beginning, I think that the way that other races are able to, affect change, it has to happen economically. So whereas we're so quick to spend our dollar, I think we need to support our own businesses. I think we need to do this more often. I think we need to make a cognizant effort of it. I mean, I know we like, this, that, and the other nice stuff, nice fashion, even furniture or whatever, but I think we need to make a concerted effort together. Like I say, July 7th, I will be a part of that, and I think that, we could do that more often. You know what I'm saying? I think that once you start affecting, the worldly money, I think that's when you have attention, you have the floor, and you can affect some change. You can, make an impact instead of, like I say, just the noise.
Okay. All right, next, what about yourself? How do you
I want to
feel?
hear what Anton got to say, man.
Go ahead, Anton.
Sure.
Yeah, go
sure.
ahead, man.
You know what's
you
so
can bump
funny?
me.
I was talking to JR a while ago, and it's funny you mentioned supporting Black businesses and economic impact, and you talking to a guy that's then started several businesses. I just sold my restaurant back in December, right? I had, and I built that to employ people from my community, people that I was mentoring. I mentored several young guys, Jay already know this, from 13 all the way up to like 24 years old, right? I built this as a platform for them to be able to go, hang out, spend their time after school, make some money, all of this type of stuff. Restaurants, show them what hard works look like, show them that, you don't have to be rich in order to build a business, it's all these other type of stuff. I go to in Michigan here, they just opened up all of the, everything from the quarantine and everything like that. You know what the stores that was full, lying out the door for? Gucci and Louis Vuitton. These same people that's complaining, right? Because I see them online. I see them in the comments. I see them, complaining and saying what we should and shouldn't do. But actions are different, right? And I see the Gucci store lying out the door. Don't matter how many times that they post things that Black people don't like, and people get outraged. Oh, okay, so we're gonna take one day and not spend money that day. Think these companies care? Literally, they just went through a pandemic where people were not spending money for the last 3 months. You see what I'm saying? So my point is that just because people don't like to hear what I say, don't make it any less true. The solution first, I think, in order to truly empower yourself, and the first thing that I always have a conversation about is my household together. I can't protest or have the conversation about the police officer did me wrong if I don't have a leg to stand on and he pulled me over because I was doing something I wasn't supposed to do. Obviously, it don't make it right if they do something to me that they wasn't supposed to do.
It doesn't.
However,
right.
it doesn't, and I agree with you. But it empowers me to have more of a voice. It empowers me to be able to go through the court system. It empowers me to be able to do whatever I need to do, hire my lawyer, have the conversation so on and so forth. I can vote in who it is that I want to vote in. I can put money behind the candidate or have the conversation and say, you know what, you're not getting a vote in my community unless you're meeting this certain criteria and expectations. If you're going to come together, you need to really have a plan. You got to educate yourself. You got to get your own household in order, and you got to ask for specific things first on a local level. Then that affects the state level, and then it moves up to the federal government. But you can't just go out and say, I want this because this happened, and expect any meaningful long-term change to really affect our community long-term without some real results and real stuff that we actually going through and saying, hey, look at this. This is the results. This is what I want. This is what I put forth. Like, we just had this conversation before we even went live. Most people don't even know what investments are. They don't even know what generational wealth looks like. They don't even know how to make their money work for them. It don't matter how much money you spend in all Black businesses if you don't understand how money works. Like, we don't even we'll take the time to educate ourselves about all these different things that don't mean nothing. I can ask my homie, and I mentor these young guys. They know every single rapper that's coming out. They know all the release dates of the new Jordans. They know all of this stuff. Ain't nobody going and buying shoes from a Black-owned owner. Real talk. You just want to be realistic about it. It's not happening, bro. So that's what I mean by a multi-layered approach. If you want to talk about the impact of your economic dollars, it's not just saying, oh, we need to spend it with Black businesses. It's first understanding how money works. Most people don't know that.
And Nick, I want to ask you this: is there anything that Anton said that you do agree with?
I mean, the people you was talking about with I agree with the approach, but again, I think we're all in agreement. It is about what we do next. So I think that I don't have no conflict with that. I think, hell, I said it when we first started about what we do next. And I think everybody that's listening or on this call is about what's next. But I mean, the thing is, like the people you talking about with Gucci and all that, hey, them people don't represent me. So I can't necessarily, all I could do is just basically like, how can I make an impact and a difference on the people that I do have an influence on, whether it's for one, starting with myself and starting locally with the community, with your family. You know what I mean? Community doesn't just mean where you live. Your community is basically your circle, your culture. This means people you educating, people you work with, you know, people you live with, people you talk to, acquaintances. If they about the movement, cool. Because the thing is, we mentioned there's different fashions of people that was involved in this kind of civil unrest. We already started off with the protesters. Then we got the looters. Then we got the vandals. We have people that had different agendas. But the thing is, you mentioned about being clear with the agenda. It's really about now, since we do have this attention that we are getting our voices heard. The fact is that I really don't think without this civil unrest, that officer would have never got arrested, nor would the 3 supporting officers, you know, for aiding and abetting. This never would have came up. This never would have came up if there was no protest. They're just like Buddy that, you know, from Georgia that was gunned down by them people that was chasing him. That happened back in February, man. So the thing is, this shows that like until this recording surfaced of, you know, that young guy getting gunned down, we would have never known. Them people would have never got arrested. So the thing is, these are just 2 recent examples where it show how we are not treated with the same equitable and responsibility of law enforcement versus someone that doesn't look like us, somebody that's not of color. And the thing is, that's the part that's unfair treatment. And the fact is, I get it. Anton, you mentioned about how, hey, you know what? There's a disproportionate number of white people that commit crimes compared to Blacks. But the thing is, why is it that being Black, we always treated with the more harsher crimes? We always get the more harsher penalties. And the fact is,
I agree with you.
Part of that harsher penalty, as we can see, leads to death. That's not right. It's not fair. And the thing is,
I agree with you.
I got friends that's cops. So, I mean, the thing is, I feel for them, my friends, the ones that are not the mob people that you talked about. But the thing is, it still don't make it right. So the thing is, I challenge them just like how we challenge ourselves. If you're a witness to this, you know, what's the saying? They call it our bystander syndrome, right? We typically see this like in rape culture. But the thing is, if you're a witness to an unjust action or wrongful doing, or you just standing by the side of just being a witness to this wrongdoing, And that's what we seen with like people that's in blue. We seen that with cops that, you know what, they're a witness to this wrongdoing and they don't speak out about it. So it's not just us. It's about really holding cops accountable, even those that's not bad. But the thing is, they may not
Can I
be
ask you a
bad, but they
question,
may be
B-Nix?
witnesses to it too. And that takes a level
Can I
of
ask you a
courage.
question, bro?
Go ahead.
Do you have any brothers or sisters?
Yeah, man. It's 7 of us all together, but I'm my mama's only child.
Okay. If you seen your brother do something that was illegal, would you tell on him and get him arrested?
You know what? My gut reaction, I wouldn't do that. That's family.
Interesting. So,
I know you're judging me. Go ahead. What else you got?
No, I'm not judging you. I'm making a point. The point that I'm making is that they look at that as a brotherhood. In the same way if you was a part of any kind of brotherhood. And I'm not condoning it. I'm not saying it's right, but I'm just giving a different perspective to help us to get a bit more of an understanding. The Asian guy was only on the job for 4 days. 4 days, and the guy that stood on the dude's neck or that leaned on the dude's neck was his superior training officer. Of course it's not right that the dude didn't stop him. Of course it's not right that, he didn't say, hey man, you got to get up off the dude's neck. But all I'm saying is that we're very quick to judge, we quick and swift to action, but we have no level of, we're not trying to understand what is happening. We're not trying to put ourselves in that same position, so on and so forth. Again, I'm not condoning it, and I'm agreeing with you that it's wrong. It is wrong, and you are right about the fact that we get disproportionately higher sentences and things like that. There needs to be reform in a lot of these different areas. But all I'm saying is there's more education amongst ourselves that need to happen. And it all starts from within. It doesn't necessarily all start from asking somebody else to validate us in order for us to feel sufficient.
But I agree with the within, but the within also is not just with us. It's also with law enforcement. The within, the brotherhood, the thing is, it doesn't excuse the behavior. And the thing is, do you think that, and I don't know, I might be wrong because I'm not a cop, but the thing is, do you think that after something like this happens, do they actually reflect? Do they get to kind of process and think about like, and that was really messed up what I did? Somebody should turn me in. No, they don't. But the thing is,
do the same thing all over again.
They're held to a different standard. You mentioned about, hey, my brother. Oh, I love my brother. But the thing is, I'm talking about me and my brother. They have a responsibility to the community to serve and protect. It's a different standard that we're talking. It's just like talking about a doctor.
So if your brother go out and do something that's not right and it harms the community,
if he do something wrong, he did something wrong.
But does he have a responsibility to his community also? Are we absolving ourselves and holding other people to a higher standard that we don't ourselves subscribe to?
Well, I think that it's like you mentioned, it's a multi-layered approach, right? But the thing is, it is different. It is different layers to it.
Oh, you're not.
What I do may be different from the alderman. What I may do may be viewed differently from the president of the U.S. So the thing is, it's a trickle-down effect. So the thing is, it is a different standard.
I don't hold.
There is a different standard, though, Anton.
And I hold myself. I ask nothing from nobody that I don't first do myself. I ask nothing of nobody that I don't first do myself. If I'm not going to do it myself and I'm going to hold myself to that same standard, it's hypocritical for me to say they should do it too. And I'm not saying that he shouldn't be held to that standard. But all I'm saying is we got to change our mentality and the way that we look at things, because it's not just one way. It's not just the way we see it. That's not the entirety of the conversation.
Well, I agree. I asked you your same question you asked me. You got 4 brothers, right? Well, 3, right?
Yep.
3 brothers. So the thing is, you witness them do something wrong, a wrongful act. Do you go call the police on them?
Probably not.
I get it.
But that's what enables me. That's what enables me to ask the question, is because I am more considerate. I'm not quick to act. I'm not quick to rush to action in anything that happens, because I always put myself in that position first. And again, I'm not justifying it, and he was wrong, but I'm always trying to understand it by first asking the question and say, what would I do? What would I do if I'm in that situation? Do I live my life according to those same standards that I'm requiring other people to live with? Otherwise, I'm hypocritical.
People dying, bro. We're not talking about somebody got a. You act like we're talking about somebody broke his arm or something like that. Like,
the subject in order to get away from the truth. You always you do that a lot. I see that. You should run for city council or mayor. You should run.
Folks are dying though, man. In all honesty,
I agree. They are, and I said it was wrong. I agree with you on a lot of your points. but you're still ignoring a lot. I never seen you once say, maybe you did, maybe I just overheard it, but I've never heard you once say, yeah, I agree with you on that one.
I just did when you mentioned about the
Yeah,
next
he
steps.
did. He did.
I think I agree
Okay,
with
I
you
said
multiple
maybe. I
times.
said maybe I overheard it.
Well, I mean, I don't know what to say, man. Hey, Gino, it's on you, man.
No, it's gonna be on me.
Oh, okay. All right, Jay.
So I just been hearing everybody been sit back listening, and I think we can all take something from each other. You know, I don't think that we should. I'm looking at the comments and they tearing their time up.
Of course, but I told you that they was gonna do that.
Yeah.
Before
Yeah,
we
you
even
did.
this.
You did tell me, but I also think we should. That he made like a lot of valid points. I'm not gonna say that. I mean, I can understand the points. If you make a point, as long as you make some support for your point, then it helps people to understand. And I think that he did support a lot of stuff that he was saying, just like you supported a lot of stuff that you were saying, and so did Gino. But I think we all should just take something from this conversation and try to see how can we move forward. How can we apply this to everything else? Because there's a lot of people not asking questions. There's a lot of people out there just protesting the movement, but they don't really know like what they're doing out there. They just protesting. I'm not saying everyone, but there are people that just out there protesting just to be a part of the movement, just to say that they're doing something. But we need to ask more questions. We need to figure out, you know, how can we make this count? We got to capitalize on this moment the best way we can. And I think that we can all take something from each other and we can build off of it. You guys agree? Am I saying something wrong?
Yeah, no, I mean, I definitely think, you know, we don't want to get into, you know, the whole divide and conquer mentality, you know, because we can, you know, agree to disagree with some things, but I mean, I think we've all made some good points, you know, so it's all about the discussion, you know, opening the discussion to everybody and, you know, seeing what good can come out of it, you know, because I think that, you know, we do need to be accountable for ourselves, for our community, you know, and I think that that's something that we do get away from in terms of what Anton is saying, you know, accountability. I mean, it's huge. I think that, you know, instead of, you know, jumping on the opportunity to get free stuff or whatever, you know, I think that, you know, we should all be, you know, willing to, you know, go out and get what it is that we're asking for in so many cases, you know what I mean? But at the same time, you know, we have to all look at ourselves, you know, with respect to if you were one of those bystanding cops, you know what I mean? Are you gonna play the game? Right is right, wrong is wrong. We all know, you know what I'm saying? So it's like if you would have been one of those people, and I personally have been that person who stopped somebody that was doing something wrong and had a gun pointed at my head at 13, just because, and we were all crew, we were all like brothers. But the bottom line is, you know, if we can bring some attention to different things that we do need to, you know, police brutality, accountability, I think they're all good, you know, for us to think about and to, you know, discuss. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, like I said, I agree with different things that everybody has said. And, you know, just because we don't agree on all things, you know, it's still good conversation and it does bring good attention, you know, to some of these topics that we do need to discuss.
Yeah, I was talking to Anton earlier and I knew, you know, what his approach was. And I kind of had a feeling that a lot of people were going to like it. I think this conversation that we having is very powerful. We got to have somebody that's going against the grain and to get our minds to be thinking in a different path. So I just appreciate everybody. I'm not agreeing. I'm not disagreeing with anybody. I think that we all, you know, added some type of flavor to this moving forward. Even the people that's watching, I know you guys don't totally agree. I haven't read through all the comments, but I'm gonna go back and look at it. But I still think that this conversation is very powerful that we having right now. It needs to be had. We need to have people that's thinking outside of our box. Otherwise, we're not gonna be able to see things in a different perspective.
That's true.
How you feel about it, Nick? I see you quiet over there. Cool? You good?
No, I'm good, man. I mean,
yeah.
What do you think
I mean,
people protesting for? I mean,
yeah.
That if anything, this creates again a surface level conversation. The fact that instead on Wednesday, us talking about like some relationships or jobs or gender differences. The thing is, we're talking about this. All this movement that's happening right now is to bring awareness for us to even talk about this openly. The thing is, this is a byproduct of the protests, to bring awareness to it, not for people to become normed by it, and really to have this critical discourse. Like, that's how changes are made. Changes are not made when everybody agrees.
That's true.
You know, if everybody agrees, that means nothing changes because everybody is in support. obviously this shows that we all have different perspectives, but you know what? All this is necessary. Jill, I know you may still be on the chat, but the thing is, you've been to Minnesota, you went there. The fact is, all this is relevant as far as change. Hey, some people may truly feel that, you know what? Hey, they don't give a damn if they burn the place down. The thing is, in order, if that's what's needed, if that's what's necessary, in order to now get the conversation going and make people aware that, you know what? Hey, yeah, you know what? Things are kind of messed up. We've been saying that for I don't know how many years, how many decades. This predates us as far as our generation. Really, if you think about it, it's multi-generations. Generation Z, millennials, X, baby boomers, the generationals, the traditionalists that are still alive, like all that. This is all about how we take all this information, as you mentioned, Anton, on how folks are educated and how we learn, on how we move forward. So, if anything, even this conversation, heated as it may be, it's all necessary.
Right.
All this is necessary right now.
Well, I could agree with that.
How you feeling that time?
For me, again,
really feeling. How you really feeling?
I don't think you want to know that, but
No, we want to know, man. Be honest, man.
You know,
hold on, like I want to say this first. Like I think, I could appreciate his insight, because I do think that, I do agree that there are some people that are asking those questions. We may not know who's asking those questions that Anton is referring to, like who's asking the right questions, who's actually voting, who's actually trying, because there are people that are actually trying to make a difference, like the way that Anton is referring to. But I think Anton is just saying that we need more people to actually do it, that way as well. But I can kind of get what Nick's is saying too, as far as the protest, because I do think that because people had camera phones, because people are making noise and doing a whole lot of protesting, that we are getting some action. So I agree with both sides of it. I think we need both of it. I think we need people still protesting peacefully without looting, but also think we need people to be educated and understanding, how we should go about doing it, working up on behind closed doors outside of the protests and getting stuff done. I do think that there are people that are doing it, but I think we just need more people to be doing it. But go ahead, Anton, what you got to say?
I guess the biggest thing for me, the biggest takeaway that I have as it relates to this specific conversation is, because I'm reading all of the comments and everything like that. The biggest takeaway for me is our intolerance for other people that may have a different opinion or a different perspective, because we don't know whose background is. We don't know anything about where they came from, where they grew up, what's affecting their perspective, why they look at things a certain type of way, what type of participation that they're having in specific communities, how they're reaching out, how they're affecting different people, why they're looking at things a specific type of way based off of that insight. The intolerance of other people and an unwillingness, and I'm not talking about as it relates to the people that's on this live, but the people that are, just across social media. And that's why I had to just detach and disconnect for a while, because an intolerance to even be able to have a conversation with people that may look at things a little bit differently than you is unreal to me. I don't know how you can really truly affect change. And I know a lot of people, bro, a lot of Black people from all socioeconomic statuses on all levels of the spectrum who voted this way and voted that way. I know a lot of people that literally just was like, okay, I'm retreating. I'm not going to say nothing because I don't have time for people that don't have time to even participate in the conversation with me. That's unfortunate. I don't know how we can come together when we're unwilling. And I see somebody saying, oh, you butthurt. No, I got thick skin. And it's the reason why I'm on this live today, because I already had to talk with Jared. I'm like, yo, you know what? I'll ask certain questions that people are unafraid to ask of. I'll participate in a way, and even on things that I may see from the same purview as B Nix, I'll ask that question and contrary to it for people that are asking me these questions and don't understand and want to get the insight or want to participate. but they're unwilling to participate in a way that's going to completely destroy them or get them canceled or all this other type of stuff. I'm already set. I'm already established. I got mine. I retired at 37 years old. Retired. And I dedicate my life to my people that look like me, to my community. I really live this life. So when I'm having these conversations or I'm talking or I'm looking and I'm saying, you know what? I may see things differently than you. I may be wrong, but I'm open to that possibility, and people's unwillingness to actually participate simply because they don't look at things the same way that I do. I think that's one of the biggest travesties that ever can happen in this community thus far. It's worse than anything that we're saying people are doing to us, because we're not even tolerant of ourselves. We're not even willing to kick it with ourselves. That's unfortunate. That's the biggest takeaway that I can have just from looking at how people react on a regular basis to people that do not necessarily agree with them on everything that is that they're saying. That's unfortunate.
How you feeling, Gino? You good?
Yeah.
All right. Well, I appreciate you guys joining in. I know this is a very touching subject, but it's the conversation needed to be had. I appreciate you joining us. We'll be uploading this up to the YouTube channel as well. So please like, subscribe, and share. And we appreciate y'all joining us. Hopefully we didn't hurt too many people's feelings. I've seen people saying they thought about leaving the group. It's not that serious. It's just a conversation that we're having. And I think we can all take some away from it. That's the main thing. Let's not focus on what we don't like. Let's just focus on what we can take away from this conversation and just see how we can apply it moving forward. All right. Thank you guys for joining us tonight. I appreciate you guys. I appreciate each and every last one of you guys. All right. We out.
All right, fellas.
Peace.
All right, Gino. All right, Anton. All right, Nix.